Okay, so we've spoken about some of the most obvious things that spring to mind when we're thinking about designing for iOS or Android. I hope at this point you can see that there's definitely clear differences between the two environments, and that you should think quite carefully when you're designing for either one, whether if your designs are fitting with the particular environment. Now, if you want to read up more about designing for iOS or designing for Android, then you're in luck. Apple produced a book called The Human Interface Guidelines, and it's quite a significant tome that's available for free on iBooks, and the digital link is in the text below this video. Now on here they go into way more detail about what you should and should not do when you're designing iOS apps. And similarly, Google produces a document called Material Design Guidelines. Again, the link's in the text below. And this essentially dictates, what are material colors, how should you design for Android, etc., etc. So they're both fascinating reads, especially for bedtime, but I would actually recommend you have a look at it if you are interested in diving a bit deeper into untangling the different design concepts. Now, very often one of the problems that students have is, what do you do when your primary device is an iPhone and you're making Android apps for work, vice versa? And the problem is that because you haven't used a particular environment, you're not used to the navigation, you're not used to the layout and the presentation, then it can be incredibly tempting to design something that you feel like would work on your native environment. So I'm an iPhone user, so I have to try really hard to actually get into the mindset of an Android user. And the best way to do this is actually to get a physical device that is not something that you normally use. So if you're an iPhone user, grab an Android phone and vice versa, and make it your primary device for at least a month. Now, initially, the process is usually frustrating if you've ever undergone these platform changes, but after a while, you'll start to experience the way that users think on a particular environment. And I think this is probably the best piece of advice that I can give to students who are designing for these different environments. So that was a little bit about the difference in design concepts between iOS and Android. In the next module, we're going to do a deep dive on the process that a digital designer goes through in order to get a concept or an idea from their head out onto paper and into a mock-up or a prototype. So there's going to be some hands-on work, and I'm looking forward to taking you through it. So I'll see you there.